Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, off and running. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing, starting you off at 27 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. It's all about inauguration and snow prep today, and I don't mean in that order. Whew, we got a lot of ground to cover. Yes, we will check in on what's to come for tomorrow as well. No, we're not buying into the hype that we're seeing on social media about it. So I'll tell you what. Let's start with what's factual. Let's start with top stories and trending.
Number 5.
Just about everything else is going to be about the weather. This, however, is, well, you know what? I got two stories that are non-weather related. A juvenile was arrested Sunday for the fatal shooting of a 48-year-old woman. BRPD said Latasha Thomas was found shot to death near the corner of Plank and Wyandotte Street around 11:30 a.m. BRPD said a juvenile went to the 1st District Precinct with his mother and surrendered to authorities. He was booked for second-degree murder and illegal use of a weapon.
Number 4.
State police is investigating who called it a bomb threat to headquarters and halted operations Sunday morning. I actually saw all the blue lights on this on the way to church yesterday. Lieutenant Jared Sandifer said LSP received the threat through a phone call but could not confirm what time it came in, and multiple agencies would be performing a sweep of every building on the campus out of an abundance of caution. Officials said they did not find anything in the sweep of the building. The all-clear was given around 11:30 a.m. Campus was reopened for all employees.
Number 3.
Department of Transportation and Development crews are working to treat roads across Louisiana before wintry weather that is expected in the capital area tomorrow. DOTD shared photos of trucks treating roadways from Shreveport to East Feliciana Parish. We're going to be talking about what goes into this prep with Rodney Mallet at, you know what? I want to see if we can move Rodney up a little bit. We had him scheduled for 8:05. I want to see if we can get him on at 7:35. Just that's a little bit longer of a segment and give him some room to run right there.
Number 2.
Entergy has decided to suspend disconnections ahead of the Arctic blast in Louisiana. Suspension and disconnections will last through Sunday, January 26th. According to the company, in addition to the suspension, Entergy is preparing to respond to potential power outages in the area in the coming days.
Number 1.
Mayor President Sid Edwards addressed residents last night, talking about the wintry weather conditions that are to come. During his address, the mayor said his office plans to get people off the streets as temperatures will plunge below freezing, tonight and then into Tuesday morning. The mayor said St. Vincent de Paul and the Salvation Army on Airline Highway will be open for shelter locations. If more space is needed, the Jewel J. Newman Community Center, Charles R. Kelly Community Center, and Dr. Leo S. Butler Community Center will open as backups. What's trending there, John?
Well, as we all know, today is Inauguration Day. Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. That is happening today.
Yeah, I know. And we were supposed to have our governor on at 7:35, which opened things up for Rodney Mallet. But Governor Landry's there. But there's a lot of things that are kind of in flux right now with them moving it all indoors because of the horrible weather right now. So, you know, it used to be presidential inaugurations were in March.
Yeah, but, you know, we've got
saying.
this. Yeah, I know.
You trade one bad day to get to work early, you know?
Right,
to get to work right away. So no sooner than the president will be sworn in, we're looking at upwards of 200 executive orders on day one. I know.
Wow. That's it's insane. You know what else is insane? How about that 12-hour TikTok ban yesterday?
Dude. So I posted on my Facebook when I opened up TikTok on Saturday night. It's about 11 o'clock Saturday night.
Okay.
Wife was at her parents' house, so I'm like just all alone. And I was like, you know what? Just scroll through TikTok before they shut it down tomorrow.
Right.
And then sure enough, it was shut down anyway. And they had a little message saying, you know, blah, blah, blah. We had to shut down in the U.S. And sure enough, the next day, boop, right back up again.
Yeah.
And it was with another message saying, you know, Donald Trump's going to work this out, which seemed really, really odd to me. But nonetheless, it was voluntary to close it down. Like, they weren't shut down. They shut themselves down. ahead of time, like preemptively.
Before you can shut us down, we're going to shut ourselves down.
And then brought themselves right back up again once the deal was hammered out with Trump. So, but I find it odd that the company that's supposed to be this evil piece of China is like not only in compliance with receiving, they get less data from us than Meta does, right?
Right.
And when they're told to shut down, okay, we got it from here. We'll go. We'll close the lights. We'll even mop the dadgum floor. It's just very, very strange.
Yes, it was. And it's funny because a number of other ByteDance apps like CapCut, Lemonade, and Marvel Snap temporarily shut down as well.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what my daughter. It's funny that she was calling to my attention CapCut because I'm not really on TikTok, but she's like, Dad, CapCut's down too. It's like,
Abby is the same.
Yeah.
So
like, what is going on? But,
Lemonade was where a lot of folks were going to move over to if TikTok does shut down. There's another one called Red Note, and Red Note is actually owned by the Chinese government, which is hilarious to me because we're going to shut down TikTok because China bad, and the number one option after that is going to be something that's actually TikTok isn't actually owned by the Chinese government. There's 20% of it that is, but it's not. 60% of it is owned by investors. 20% is owned by the company, then 20% is owned by Chinese nationals, so that equates to the Chinese government. Red Note is like, it might as well be coming straight from the Chinese capital. Yeah.
Might as well say communist.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Not many options out there. Not many options.
No, and a lot of people would revert back to Reels because it's the next best. I mean, it's the next one in line. A lot of people would just kind of out of protest do their best to avoid it altogether.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the right answer is there because of the numbers of creators who earn a living off of TikTok. I mean, you got 7 million small businesses on TikTok. You got 7,000 Americans are employees. So, but forget about the 7,000 employees at TikTok. That doesn't matter when you move over to Reels. When you have those creators who built their business online and they need their outlet to, advertise and or sell their wares, if you're looking to boycott something, you're hurting them more than you're hurting Meta.
Yeah.
Or you're hurting them more than you're making a point.
Right.
Boycotts never work is my problem.
So what you're saying is we should bring MySpace back.
Totally bring back MySpace.
Totally. We get to decorate our own walls.
You know what?
Put a song on there.
Yes. Can we get our top 8 back? Yeah. Can we get top 7 plus Tom?
We never had to worry about algorithms then and Chinese government.
No.
Things like that. Those were simpler days.
We're at 6:12. Coming up on 6:13 to Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Okay, so the next 48 hours are going to be really, really rough. After that, things will open back up again. It is carnival time. Mathern's is getting you ready. Mathern's is getting you ready for the entire carnival season. Whether you're talking about bringing a king cake to work, which, you know what, before you're on lockdown for the snow, maybe swing by Mathern's and grab 1 or 2 king cakes. Maybe swing by the Nicholson Drive location and get you one of the fancy king cakes like the Cookie Monster. Oh, I love the Cookie Monster. Anything filled, they've got you covered. The Bavarian cream, the cream cheese, the strawberry, or if you like it traditional, they've got you there. Also, as a heads up, as you're preparing for a Mardi Gras ball, you need to bring some food along. Hit up Matherns.com. They've got the catering forms, catering options right there for you on the website. Whether you're talking about bringing chicken wings, whether you're talking about bringing boudin balls, muffaletta tray, whatever you need. They've got more than 50 different catering trays to order from. They're all available at Matherns.com. And then, of course, once it's parade time, they're right there on the route in downtown Baton Rouge. It's Matherns. Quick break. We'll talk LSU women remain undefeated. LSU men still struggling. It's next. 617 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Yesterday at noon, you heard LSU women's basketball. Fifth-ranked LSU women's basketball team improves to 20-0 with an 80-63 win over Florida yesterday. Second time in program history that the Ladies Tigers win their first 20 games. Michaela Williams had 22, and Anissa Morrow had 20 and 10 boards because Anissa Morrow always goes double-double. After allowing Florida to score 21 points in the first quarter, Coach Mulkey's team locked it down on defense.
We got to learn to trust each other. Sometimes we leave each other on an island. You got your guy, I've got him, you got her. Everybody guard the ball. And I thought we did it in spurts today. One thing that we did do good, and we've improved today, was turnovers. We only had 9 for the entire game, and for a while there was only 6.
Need that to spread over to the men's side. We'll talk about that in just a second. The win sets up a huge matchup Thursday night in Columbia, South Carolina. LSU is going to face the defending national champion Gamecocks. After Sunday's game, Mulkey was not ready to talk about Thursday's tilt.
I can't even think about South Carolina. I've got to think about snow and ice when I get home. So we're going to enjoy this victory today. Any victory on the road in our league is an accomplishment. But we know what we face next, and tremendous challenge to play the defending champions and do it at their place.
Meanwhile, on the men's side, Cam Carter had 16 on Saturday. Jordan Sears had 11. It was a rough go of it for the LSU men's basketball Tigers. 68-57, they fall to the number 11 in the country, Texas A&M Aggies. Offensively, it was a struggle, but that was not really a surprise because, well, that's what Texas A&M does pretty well. They play defense. But at halftime, it was 30-30. LSU was locked on dead in this game. What this was a matter of is the Tigers are missing 1 or 2 players tops. This was a matter of Texas A&M being able to wear LSU down over the course of the game and then separating at the end. For the Tigers, you could afford to have a better three-point shooting. Cam Carter was 3 of 6. He was the best of the day. Jordan Sears, 1 of 7, and he's a regular three-point shooter. As far as the I just lost my website, so I'm not going to be able to get you to the turnover battle. Anyway, tell you what, let's break for Fox Business Report. We'll come back and continue next. Well, it's a holiday.
I know.
Nobody's getting kids ready for school. Very few people are getting ready for work.
Yeah.
It's cold as balls. I will say this. I need a better comforter on my bed.
Yeah?
Yep.
Man.
Yeah.
So when you do sleep, when you eventually sleep,
it's
not
difficult to sleep when you're freezing. But, because because we have a 2-story house. It's an older house, so it's not that the insulation isn't the best, like the way it's built out upstairs.
Yeah.
So upstairs is always going to run hotter than downstairs, so we have to keep downstairs a little bit cooler, which is okay in the summertime.
Yeah.
Because you're always trying to keep things cool in the summertime, but in the wintertime, I mean, it's having that difference in 2 floors that makes all the difference. Anyway, we have it's not even like a full-on comforter. Yeah. And I never noticed because if there's 2 people in the bed, it's naturally going to be warmer.
Right.
Yeah. When Christy's at her parents' house, it's like, oh.
Get a little chilly.
Oh, holy hell, this one's me. All right, let's head on back to the Shawbills Tire Traffic Center, see what we've got going on this morning. Shouldn't be much, as it is the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, and that means all the kids are out of school, and that means most of the folks are not working today. So, yeah, we got no problems on the interstates right now. 10, 12, 110, in any direction is looking good right now. Both bridges are looking good as well. On your surface streets, man, really the only thing to look out for right now, about 20 minutes ago, there was a stalled vehicle. It's in the roadway, Greenwell Springs at Evan Brooks Drive. So, yeah, I can't imagine that's going to hold anybody up real bad. Great start to the morning. Hopefully we can keep it that way. That's your look at traffic from the Shawbills Tire Traffic Center. .625, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. We kind of ran long on sports right there. Just to wrap up on LSU men's basketball, it's weird because the Tigers are 1-4 in conference play, but I don't feel like they're that far off. And I know there's disparity in final scores throughout. You're getting beat by double digits. It looks bad. It really does. But I was producing the game Saturday night, and when it was tied at 30 at halftime, I was like, well, you would like to have more points on the board, but at the same time, you're playing the number 11 team in the country, and you're tied at halftime. You, as an unranked team, are playing the number 11 team in the country, and you're tied at halftime. And actually took the lead early in the second half. They were up 36-32 at one point. Cam Carter had hit a three-pointer. Vicious. And took the lead before eventually just getting worn down. And you can't help but think if Jalen Reed were out there instead of being hurt, where would these Tigers be? Heck, on Saturday, if Victorious Miller was out there instead of on the shelf because he's hurt, this might have been a different story. Just having more legs, more bodies, a little bit more rest for a couple of guys to stay fresh the whole way through. So, LSU men's basketball coming up next. Who do they've got next? Be taking on Alabama on the 25th. Alabama's number 4 in the nation. So 7:30 p.m. You can hear it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. And then right after Alabama, they got number 1 in the country. They come home to play Auburn on January 29th. That's a 6 p.m. tip-off, also on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. In the NFL, we are now down to our Final Four. We are down to our AFC and NFC championship round. This past weekend on Saturday, Chiefs topped the Texans 23-14. It was Jaden Daniels just going off. Technically in the box score, Jared Goff had more passing yards than Jaden Daniels, but man, the game that Jaden played, 22 of 31 for 299 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Washington Commanders 45, Detroit Lions 31. On top of those 299 yards he threw for, Daniels also ran for another 51. Those were your 2 Saturday scores. On Sunday, it was the Eagles 28, Rams 22. Bills 27, Ravens 25. Both of those games, the number one player was the snow. I mean, that was very, 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 very visible. The impacts the snow was taking on those two games. So, AFC Championship will be Bills Chiefs. NFC Championship will be Eagles Commanders coming up this weekend. All right. What are we expecting tomorrow and how bad? We're going to talk with WBRZ's chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eachus, coming up at 7:55. But I implore everyone to please lean on and listen to the trained and licensed meteorologists that are out there. Bumping around social media last night, I'm seeing people posting about 10 inches of snow. Come on, y'all. That would be a record by a lot. A lot. Now, don't get me wrong. If we get 4 to 6 inches of snow, that will be very significant. I believe the most we've had in 50 years. Actually, I say 10 would be a record by a lot. It would not. We actually had 12 inches of snow back in the 1800s. Like 1898 or something like that. I don't have it in front of me right now. But what are we expecting when it comes to the snow, and how long will it take effect? And this is, to me, it's not so much how much snow, but how long till it's gone. There's a lot of folks traveling this week. A lot of folks took an extended weekend for Martin Luther King weekend and would be headed home. If you take the weekend plus a vacation day, you're getting 4 days for the price of one. So they would be headed home tomorrow, right in the thick of it. There's a lot of folks that are headed to Washington, D.C. Heck, we're headed to Washington, D.C. on Wednesday. That's actually in question right now for our Washington Mardi Gras coverage. Well, a lot of folks were supposed to be traveling throughout the week, and when it comes to inclement weather in Louisiana, we don't always do the best on the roads. And snow is something we're not used to and something we really, really don't navigate well. So this might have us on hold for a little longer than it would have, say, someplace up north where they're used to it. Whether we get 3 inches or 6 or, God forbid, more. The snow that we get, the snow that does accumulate, is not really going to have time to melt off before it's back to business. By the way, did you see what the St. Tammany Parish Sheriff's Office posted on their social media? They said, essentially, look, y'all don't know how to drive when it's 75 degrees and sunny. Don't even think about trying to drive in the snow. Just stay home. Here comes news on Talk 107.3 FM. We'll talk with Fred Raiford about prep in Baton Rouge. That's coming up next. Hang on. Oh, is that him? I just texted him asking if we can move up by a segment. We're going to run all the way to 650 if we can. I didn't write anything down for that. Oh, yeah, I did. Inauguration for that last segment, huh? condoms? Oh, yeah, that makes more sense. What the hell kind of judgmental bullshit was that? You can't take care of a damn animal.
Oh man. Oh.
So if Rodney can come on at 7:35 instead of 8:05, we're gonna need this day in history.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually prepping for it now.
Okay. How long do we have?
Oh, we're about to. In
Yeah,
about
weather?
a minute, we're gonna hit weather.
Okay, I gotta get something for this day in history. I want some audio. All right. I need to hop in Facebook real quick, see what's going on. Is everybody hating on me for my TikTok take? Just how bad is it going to get? Here with your forecast. WBRZ meteorologist Emma Cade Cowan. Happy Monday. I do. 638 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Shout out to Eric on the Facebook chat, who, when I said 1898 for the 12 and a half inches of snow, I was off by 3 years. Try to do it off memory. It was 1895. So I appreciate the clarification right there. Also, a lot of questions about what's going on in Livingston Parish as far as prep and warning is concerned. We'll get to that later on the show, hopefully. Right now, though, how are we locking it down in Baton Rouge? What do things look like on the prep front here? Joining us now is Fred Raiford. He heads up DPW. He's on the hotline. How are you, sir?
I'm going, Brian. Everything's going pretty good so far.
So far, oh, well, I mean, we're not into the thick of it yet. So walk us through what the punch list looks like heading for a freeze and snow.
Well, number one, we've already went out and pre-staged a lot of the bridge locations that that have a lot of traffic. Excuse me, Brian. Have a lot of traffic on it to put barricades. That's only assuming that if we can't get to them over a period of time, we can also be able to have the barricades there that law enforcement could shut the bridge down, because we want to be sure people are safe. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, that's one of the first things we did, and that was yesterday, and that was about 22 locations that we had barricades at throughout the parish. Some overpasses that we know that are under our responsibility, but we want to be sure people are safe. For example, Sigan Lane, the North Boulevard overpass, you had the Perkins Road overpass, things like that we deal with. But there's a lot of bridges that we're going to try to be sure they're kept open at this point.
We're talking with Fred Raiford from DPW about prep for the freeze and for the snow as well. I mean, a lot of this is going to depend, Fred, on just how much snow we actually get, which I don't know if they can predict how much sticks around, how much accumulation,
Yes.
So when it comes down to it, though, what do we do on the roads themselves once it hits below freezing and you start to have snowfall?
Well, I mean, Brian, number one, we don't have snow plows for sure here in the EBR. I know that sometimes the state's been able to pick them up, but most of those have been used for up the north part of the state of Louisiana.
Right.
But, I mean, our goal is to try to, salt down most of the bridges, overpasses, and also some roadways that we feel like that are critical that, from our standpoint, to try to keep open. We also have some makeshift, what you call snow plows that we have put together with some different types of approaches and also blades that we can use to help move snow if that's the case. But in reality, I mean, we don't do this every day. If you ask about a hurricane, we know what we need to do. We're prepared. We have the equipment available to do that. But we're going to make every effort to try to have the least inconvenience we can for the people of the parish. But to be honest, my opinion, while my grandkids are excited about the snow, I'm not. Because it's always a problem, but I also know it creates real safety issues for the motoring public, and that is something that I know the mayor, at our press conference yesterday, talked about, doesn't want wants the public to, stay safe. And quite frankly, if you don't need to go anywhere, don't go. I mean, because it's going, the weather's not going to heat up pretty quick, where you can at least see some of the snow start to melt. That may not be till Thursday or even Friday. What was situation based on the weather temperatures that I've been hearing from the Weather Bureau. So, I mean, it's going to be a challenge, Brian. I mean, I'll be the first to admit that. We're just not snow oriented, and I guess we got to be sure that we stay on top of it.
Can we just flush everything we do for a hurricane, or are there similarities? Because that is, like you said, we've got it on lock on a hurricane. We know what we're doing there. But when it comes to snow, are there any takeaways from hurricane season that we can apply here?
Well, you're using some of the same equipment, Brian. Our dump trucks with salt trucks that we're going to put the salt in to be able to spread out. Mm-hmm. Those are all accommodated. We get those components and add them onto the truck itself to make it where it's easier to spread out. I mean, there are some equipment that we use, and depending on, quite frankly, when we looked to order, we ordered about 7 pallets, big pallets of salt rock, and for us to be able to use for the next few days. So today, that's what we're going to be doing on a lot of the roadways. I know it's going to be kind of clear and sunny today, but we are going to start salting a lot of the bridges and some roadways that we feel like that need to be done to keep open as much as possible. But I think in reality, we're going to be as prepared as we can be and be as responsive to the public as much as possible.
We're talking with Fred Raiford from DPW about getting ready for the upcoming snow and freeze that is expected starting early tomorrow. One of the biggest differences here, Fred, is when it rains, it goes away. When it snows,
Right.
It sticks around. I don't know if there's any other way other than just repeating it on the air that once the precipitation part of this is over with, the crisis is not averted.
Oh, absolutely not, because that's when it sometimes could be a problem, because that's when people want to go out and go look at it, number one. Or number two, quite frankly, you need to stay off the roads because of the cold temperatures that's still going to be here for the next few days. Yeah. That snow is not going to melt down pretty quickly. I mean, every TV station and weather bureau that I've chatted with, they've all said that it's going to be probably a 2 to 3 day event. So it'll not necessarily just snow, but just being on the ground because it's not warm enough for it to melt. Right. And, we'll do what we can to continue to stay on top of it. But, that's going to be an issue for us in the coming days.
Got Fred Raiford for just a couple more minutes. I want to ask you about one of the bigger problems that could result in this would be power outages. Is there anything your office can be doing to help, make sure power lines are in the clear, that sort of thing?
Well, we've worked very closely with Energy and also DEMCO. Because that's what we do almost pretty much daily. Mm-hmm. Because some of these trees, when you get a little ice on it or snow on it, it could snap and bust some of the your power lines. And that's even worse than sometimes having to stay at home when you don't have the power. Right. But those, we work with them very closely. They're on top of it. In fact, they were at the meeting last night. And then we have a 24-hour call number that we need, and we have the capability of getting in touch with them to say we need your help at these locations, particularly, in areas that we do have a lot of power outages in some areas because of the age of some of the power lines and stuff like that. But I think we're going to be on top of that. Also, we're working very closely with Energy and DEMCO.
Got just a couple more minutes with Fred Raiford. Yes. Talk about, if you could, Fred, address the one of the other differences between hurricane and snow here is reaction time afterwards. How does that affect, like, if a call comes in and that DPW would normally respond to, how does that affect y'all's reaction time to get out and help out when you consider the conditions of the road?
Well, Brian, that's a very good question because that was also asked me last night about that. But I would just say that, number one, if we can drive on the roadway, because we do have a little bit different from equipment. It's a little heavier, and with tires sometimes that we have, I think we can be able to move to a certain location because what we also need to be aware of is that if a tree gets knocked down because of snow or whatever, we need to get in there and be able to open up that roadway so we can have emergency response vehicles to be able to respond to any of those events. At the OEC, that's what we work at, or MOSEP. We will make sure those type of situations are responsive to. It's just really it's a wait and see. But once we look at some of the areas that what we see was coming down, we'll probably may make some changes on how we want to be, how we're going to respond to certain events at that particular time.
Two more before I get you out of here. One of them is about what belongs to who, or what belongs to whom. Is last year we had some frozen precipitation that shut down I-110 for well over a day. Walk us through what actually has to kick back over to DOTD would belong to the state and not would be y'all's job to clean up or prep for.
Well, Brian, certainly we work very closely with DOTD because, most people don't care whether it's City of Baton Rouge or DOTD. They just want something done. Right. And that's what we try to be responsive to. But I would say that we've had communications on what we need to do. That DOTD has from our discussions, has indicated that they are going to handle anything dealing with the interstate and some of the major bridges like the Mississippi River Bridge. They will see that those try to stay open as much as possible. Not that depending on what type of event we have, that could change. But there again, we work very closely. We want to keep up the main highways like Airline in Florida. They are concentrating also on those highways so you can get from east to west part of the parish. So, I mean, a lot of communication. They have a lot. They do have some equipment that they were able to pick up and to try to be prepared. And they will also be salting a lot of the roads and bridges as much as possible today, too.
Last one before I get you out of here, and thank you for making yourself available this morning to answer a few questions. Last one before I get you out of here, Fred, and that's about population density versus who's going to be susceptible to the storm. The further north you go in the parish, the less dense the population is, but also you might see a lot more effects of the snow as it rolls through. So how do y'all balance, how do y'all manage your own individual, your department's resources to serve the most all at once while not neglecting those who live a little bit further out?
Well, Brian, that's depending on the event and what the situation is, because we have to be responsive to be able to go to any direction to have. While we may have different lots that we use to maintain certain areas, those maintenance lots are also aware of what's going on in other districts that we deal with, and we certainly have to be responsive. But we've done that. I don't think too many people have had any concerns about us not trying to be responsive, because we have. We may not be able to remove things like trees out of the street because it's wrapped up with power lines until Energy or Demco is able to, move those. Those are the type of situations that we're normally challenged with. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we from a maintenance standpoint and from an operation standpoint, from barricading to tree removals and stuff, I think we do a very good job of going to the areas that people have expressed concerns. We have law enforcement that's out on the roadways all the time, and that will advise us, hey, you may want to look at this. This is a situation that he sees out there. So, it's called a team effort, and I think while we may not have everybody from Public Works, it don't need to be all from Public Works. It needs to be a team from Clear Fire, police, and people like that we work on a day-to-day basis with.
He is Fred Raiford. We greatly appreciate the time this morning. Do your best to stay warm through this.
Thank you, Brian. I look forward to it. Thank you, buddy.
Absolutely. Here's your money now. I want the audio where he talks about makeshift snowplows. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with that yet, but I know I want it. Because it sounds like a whole lot of redneck fun, doesn't it? Did he say makeshift snowplows? Okay. Scared the crap out of me. They disappeared for a second. Ah, gotcha. Butthole. Okay. Rodney's got to stay at 8:05. So we're gonna do a split segment at 7:35 with this day in history, and I'm gonna do something else as well. See, Troy's on the right page here. What does a homemade snowplow look like? Jesus. .655 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. You know, normally I'm telling you about folks over at Parish Construction and Roofing. Tell you give them a call, get them up on your roof. Well, with the snow coming tomorrow, man, if they could squeeze you in today, that'd be great. By calling 364-1007 or visiting parishbuilt.com. But more to the point, events like this are why you want to call them, why you want to do business with someone you know, why you want the best possible roof on your house you can get. I am speaking as a very happy customer of Parish Construction and Roofing. Got a brand new roof on the house, and the process was about as easy as it could be. Darn near pleasant. Who would think putting a roof on a house and dealing with an insurance company would be pleasant? Now, my insurance company was great as well, but Zach over at Parish, I mean, figuratively held my hand through the entire process. There was never a time, whether you're talking about the adjustment process, the inspection process, the installation process, and the payment process, where Zach handed me off to Linda back in the office. But they both were fantastic, making sure I understood every move that was being made, every step along the way. When they say do business with someone you know, they mean it. Do business with someone you know. Parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. All right. Coming up today, for only the second time in American history, a president will be sworn in for his second non-consecutive term. Grover Cleveland was the other one, by the way. Donald Trump will take the oath of office at 11 o'clock this morning. When he begins that second non-consecutive term, it'll be with a Republican-controlled House and a Republican-controlled Senate. Speaker Mike Johnson says he hopes that that will lead the passage of some of his key agenda items, like renewing his tax cuts from his first term.
If we let the Trump tax cuts expire, we're at risk of losing as many as 6 million total jobs and $540 billion in employee compensation. We cannot fail to extend the Trump tax cuts.
Once a pair of Trump's cabinet nominees are confirmed, Republicans will only have a 217 to 215 majority in the House, meaning the party can't lose a single vote to pass legislation without Democratic support until those vacancies are filled by way of special elections. Now, historically, the party in power almost always loses seats in the House in the midterms, so Republicans are only looking at a small window here, less than a 2-year window, to achieve some goals. Congresswoman Julia Letlow says it's not a concern. Oh, she's not worried about it.
I'm going to make the most of this day today. I'm living in the present, and you never know what's going to happen in the future, but I'm going to make sure that I get as much accomplished today as I possibly can. Flip
it around to the other side of the aisle, where you've got Democrat Cleo Fields, who, like Trump, is making his return to Congress, after being out of office. He says both parties need to work together to pass common sense legislation that will improve the lives of all Americans.
They really don't care about whether or not you're a Democrat or Republican. They care about lowering the price of food. They care about education.
Field says with a House that's split almost right down the middle, it's more important than ever for the two parties to cooperate, which hopefully means, more than just come see things my way.
Because it's so close, it's going to force us as Congress people to work together.
The weather that we're expecting tomorrow, I mean, they're catching their own weather over there in Washington D.C. and the big event that's always on the mall is moved inside of the Capitol Rotunda. So, Donald Trump will be sworn in later on today as the 47th president of the United States. And yeah, like I said, the only other time in American history that we've seen this was Grover Cleveland, who was he was president from 1885 to 1889. And then, he's the 22nd and 24th president. So, 22nd and 24, it takes until 45 and 47 to do that again. Not an everyday occurrence, to be sure. We got news coming up in just a little bit. Hour 2 on the way after that. We will have top stories and trending in hour 2. We will have Medical Monday in hour 2. Also in hour 2, normally we have Will Greed from LABI, but we had to move him to make room for Governor Landry, who has since had to cancel or reschedule with us. So we got a whole revamped second hour coming your way. We're staying on top of the snow right here on Talk 107.3. Keith says, ask ChatGPT about a homemade snowplow. Yeah. I'm sure they would have some decent ideas. Amazon boxes zip tied to my zero turn. Also good. Also good. As long as the snow stays frozen. Yeah. Yeah. Let me see if Josh can move up to 735. .705 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now, dipping down to 26 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Oh, as we are bracing ourselves, getting ready for the snow, getting ready for some accumulation on the ground, getting ready for a pretty deep freeze as well. The polar vortex, as it were, heading our way. Coming up this hour, we got Medical Monday at 7:15. And the rest of the hour is kind of playing by ear. We're trying to, we're going to talk with WBRZ meteorologist Dr. Josh Eachus, chief meteorologist Dr. Josh Eachus, at some point in the hour. But I'm trying to move him up a little bit to give us some more room to run. It is also Inauguration Day. We'll have more on that in just a little bit. Right now, we start off your hour with top stories and trending. Woo-wee!
Number 5.
You want to sell me on Baton Rouge Metro Airport? FlyBTR.com, no problem. Just take a look at what's about to happen over the next 24 to 48 hours. Trying to get down to New Orleans if you need to catch a flight. FlyBTR.com. If nothing else, it's right here on backyard. You don't have to cross the Boticari Spillway. Anyway, number 5, a juvenile was arrested Sunday for the fatal shooting of a 48-year-old woman. BRPD said Latasha Thomas was found shot to death near the corner of Plank and Wyandotte around 11:30 a.m. BRPD said a juvenile went to the 1st District Precinct with his mother and surrendered to authorities. He was booked for second-degree murder and illegal use of a weapon.
Number 4.
State police is investigating who called in a bomb threat to their headquarters and halted operations Sunday morning. Lieutenant Jared Sandifer said LSP received the threat through a phone call but could not confirm what time it came in. Multiple agencies would be performing a sweep of every building on the campus out of an abundance of caution. I was actually driving past there at about 10:15-ish. Yeah, 10:15-ish, as that's kind of on the way from the Haldane House to Our Lady of Mercy. And, boy, the number of flashy blue lights that were out there. I had no idea what was going on. I actually thought it was a training exercise, but turns out it was a lot more than that. Officials said they didn't find anything in the sweep of the buildings. All clear was given around 11:30 a.m. Campus was reopened for all employees.
Number 3.
DOTD crews are working to pre-treat roads across Louisiana before wintry weather is expected in the capital area tomorrow. DOTD shared photos of trucks treating roadways from Shreveport to East Feliciana Parish. We'll be talking about what goes into this prep with Rodney Mallet coming up at 8:05.
Number 2.
Entergy has decided to suspend disconnections ahead of the Arctic blast. Suspension will run through Sunday, January 26th. According to the company, in addition to the suspension, Entergy is preparing to respond to potential power outages in the area in the coming days.
Number 1.
Mayor President Sid Edwards held a press conference yesterday evening getting ready for the freeze, saying his office has plans to get people off the streets as temperatures are going to plunge well below freezing tonight and tomorrow. The mayor said St. Vincent de Paul and Salvation Army on Airline will be open for shelter locations if more space is needed. The Jewel J. Newman Community Center, Charles R. Kelly Community Center and Dr. Leo S. Butler Community Center will be open as backups as well. By the way, the East Baton Rouge Parish Library will be open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. as a warming center as well. What's trending, John?
Well, of course, today is Inauguration Day, and Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th President of the United States.
Moving it all inside the Capitol Rotunda. Yep. That's that. By the way, that's kind of jacked up our lineup on here. If you see, I post a little promo video on Twitter every day and had the governor tagged for 7:35. Because of the change in schedule up there, he's kind of hustling up in D.C. And I was talking with this folks late last night. He got to cancel on us today. Well, reschedule for later in the week to be sure. So, but yeah, it does change things with the intense winter weather in Washington, D.C.
Yes, it does. And as you mentioned last hour too, right? We used to do these things in March.
Way back in the day. Yes.
1937. I have the date. Yeah. Wow. Insane. But yeah, so cold. But I'm glad the governor's able to reschedule though. It's not a total loss.
I don't know how that's going to look yet because if we can keep everything to plan, which our plans are going to stay about as on the rails as a Bond villain right now. If we can keep everything to plan, we still got to cover Washington Mardi Gras.
Right.
You know? So that involves getting up to D.C. Ooh. Oh, that's the luck, Haldane.
Yeah. Hey, in other news, how about that 12-hour ban yesterday on TikTok?
It was a brutal 12 hours, man. You don't even know.
I don't.
You don't even know.
I didn't feel the sting of it.
Wife was out of town. Can't binge watch Modern Family together. So I'm going to scroll through TikTok. And instead, I've got to revert back to Instagram Reels, which I don't know what the hell's going on at Meta to make them think that all I want to see is videos of snakes. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know what plugged into my algorithm. I'm a 48-year-old male. I understand the commercials for ED medication are going to come my way.
Right,
I understand that, and I can swipe right past them. But the videos are like, ooh, King Cobras. At no point. Can we revamp algorithms to start with a survey? Can I fill out a Scantron like I'm a sophomore in high school, telling them what I do and don't like, and not have them guess based off of whatever the heck?
Now that's an option.
Right?
That would be great, right?
Dear Meta,
yeah,
I would like more clips from The Sopranos.
Right. You know how you get on certain websites, and it's like, what are your interests? And
yes.
It's just, it's like Netflix, right?
More
what
stand-up comedians, please.
Yeah. Oh, man. And speaking of TikTok being back up and running on Sunday, a number of other ByteDance apps like CapCut, Lemonade, and Marvel Snap were temporarily shut down, though.
Yeah.
Well, so
there's going to be a lot to sift through with this because there's a lot that stinks about the whole thing.
Yes, it does.
I know it's going to sound like I'm buying into the part that the left is making it look like the right is stupid on.
Well,
but the only person who's been able to show that he's willing to try out TikTok and grow and learn once he's tried it out is President Trump. He hated TikTok. He was the first one that went to TikTok banned.
Right.
And then he had a dude on his campaign. I think he's been calling him TikTok Jack.
Right.
But he's like, okay.
He's seen the benefits
hop on TikTok.
Yeah.
Try it out. Post up a couple videos. Watch your reach. Watch the interaction. Watch the community. And learn that it's not what if you're not on TikTok, you've been sold a bill of goods. If you're not on TikTok, I had it on my own. So I posted the little shutdown message on my Facebook feed.
Right.
I was told as a propaganda tool what TikTok feeds you. And I'm like, who am I going to believe? You or my lying eyes? I've been on TikTok for 5 years now and haven't seen anything like what I'm told is on TikTok.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is when you're not using these services yourself, it's easy to fall into that.
Right.
Into what other people are saying without using it themselves. So, no, I get it. I mean, yeah. And while I'm not a TikTok user, it's funny, my daughter approached me about CapCut. Like that.
So CapCut's basically just videos and video editing, right?
Right, that's all it is.
I mean, it's like they have a lot more editing features than TikTok does.
Yes.
So you can make your own little 1-minute movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Different slideshows, things like that.
CapCut.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
All right. Because I need more just time vacuums out of my life. It's 7:13 to Talk 107.3 FM. Quick break. Come back. We got Medical Monday next. Good morning, Christy. Welcome in, sweetheart. Didn't want to text you earlier because if you have the chance to sleep in, I want you to do that. Interesting.
It's time for your weekly checkup. This is Medical Monday, presented by Our Lady of the Lake Health.
Yes, it is time for Medical Monday, and this week we are talking about stroke, and more specifically, lowering your stroke risk. We've got Jason Rogers on with us from Our Lady of the Lake. Jason, good morning. How are you today?
Doing great, Ron.
Glad to have you on. Glad to be talking about this because I know this affects a lot of people. Let's start with one of the, probably the more basic of questions out there, and that's what are some of the factors that raise your risk of stroke and why?
Well, I think the big one is high blood pressure, hypertension. I think that's the big one. I think a lot of people are aware of that. The reason why is because it could lead to blockages and ruptures that cause stroke. So I think that's the big one. Heart disease is another one. So if you have a family history of heart disease, it's something you want to get checked out.
Mm-hmm.
And then diabetes is another big one. That diabetes can also, uncontrolled diabetes could lead to damage in the blood vessels, which also leads to stroke.
I tell you what, let's go back to the beginning and define what a stroke is so that folks can get that baseline underneath them to know where to move forward from there.
Absolutely. So stroke, in a nutshell, is simply loss of blood flow to brain tissue, and it could cause the death of that tissue, and then you have loss of brain function. So that's kind of my easy explanation of it, but that's what it is loss of blood flow to the brain tissue.
Okay, now, are there risk factors that we're in control of? Are there certain risk factors that we can, lower our own risk through?
Absolutely. So the first one is high blood pressure. Control your blood pressure. If you're on blood pressure pills or medicine, you definitely want to take that. We see a lot of times at the hospital, we'll see patients come in, they've run out of their blood pressure medicine, and that's the number one thing that the physician will start looking into is how long have we not had the blood pressure under control and things like that. Diabetes management is important as well. Also smoking. So anytime you stop smoking, you reduce your risk of stroke greatly. So those are three big ones.
Within those three, the blood pressure medication is probably a big one. The smoking, though, it seems that every single week there's a reason to not smoke on here. It's amazing in 2025 that this still has to be battled.
Yeah, you're right. It's a tough one, and then that the smoking, what it does, it hardens your arteries, and then that just puts you at a severe risk for stroke. And so just stopping it, they say, will cut your risk in half. So it's really, really important to stop smoking.
Okay, what are some of the symptoms of stroke? What should folks be looking out for?
So we use an acronym in the medical field. It's called BFAST. And BFAST is simply kind of gives you all the symptoms, and you kind of wrapped up in an acronym. So B stands for balance. So anytime there's a sudden loss of balance. E, the E is eyes. So if you have trouble with vision or seeing double vision or things like that, that's something that would be a symptom. F and FAST is for face. So if there's facial drooping and those sorts of things, or if there's any abnormalities there. A is for arms, and so if one arm is weaker than the other, that's a telltale sign for a stroke. And then the S is speech. So if the speech is slurred, if it's hard to understand, that is also a common sign of a stroke. And then the T is time. So if any of the so we use that. It's if any of the above symptoms are present, you want to react quickly. So BFAST is the acronym we use.
And the time here is, you cannot overemphasize how critical that time is.
Correct. Yeah, we like to also say, when you recognize stroke symptoms in you or a loved one, you definitely want to react fast. Don't drive yourself to the hospital. Call 911. You'll get here a lot quicker, and the treatment actually starts in the field, so you will be treated before you actually get to the hospital. So it's really important to act fast.
All right. You kind of answered my next question before asking it, and that is, what should you do? Obviously calling 911, but in the moments, they're in, what else should you be doing if you experience symptoms of a stroke? Yeah,
it's a great question, because in the heat of the moment, a lot of times you forget to do things. I think collecting, if it's a loved one, or if it's you want to collect your meds and bring your meds with you to the hospital. That's important. Mm-hmm. You also want to note the time that the symptoms started. So the doctor is going to be really queuing in on that to see what treatment options there are based on how long the stroke symptoms have gone on. So note the time of when the symptoms started. And then the other thing is stay calm. You want to do things to reduce the blood pressure and kind of stay calm and don't panic. But again, and lastly, call 911. Don't drive yourself. So.
All that great advice for those who are experiencing a stroke. But how difficult is that, though, while in the moment to recognize what's going on with your own body, or with, it might even be harder to recognize it within your own body than to see it in a loved one. So how does one keep their head, amidst all that turmoil?
Well, I think prepare, get educated on the signs and symptoms and what to do. Have a plan. A lot of people post things on the refrigerator. If they have a family history of stroke and those sorts of things, you want to prepare. Talk to your kids about it, talk to your loved ones about it, and have the checklist, the BFAST checklist and other things on the side of the refrigerator. Just be prepared on what to do, and I think that leads to success and a successful intervention and medical treatment. So,
well, and when it comes to all those risk factors that we talked about a little while ago, and it's not hard to be aware of, if you've got a history of heart disease in your family, that's not something that catches a lot of folks by surprise. It's easier to be, at least have a modicum of awareness about what could be coming so that you know when it's there.
Absolutely. Yeah. You definitely want to know what your risk factors are. And that's an important piece. So having those, the annual checkups and things is very important, especially when you get over the age of 55, mm-hmm. your risk for stroke increases greatly. So having those annual checkups with your doctor is important.
All right, let's talk about the Comprehensive Stroke Center over at Our Lady of the Lake. What does that mean for those of us in Baton Rouge, knowing that this is here?
It means that we have world-class care going on right here in our backyard. It's something that we're very proud of at Our Lady of the Lake. We're one of 5 centers in the state. This is the first comprehensive stroke center in the central part of Louisiana. There's 3 in New Orleans and 1 in Shreveport. But we see more strokes. We're kind of in the stroke belt, what you would say. We see more strokes, or along the same number of strokes, as some of the big stroke centers in Houston and Birmingham and other places. Over 2,000 strokes a year we see. But our outcomes are very, very good when you compare us to other stroke centers. We're getting reperfusion and getting we call door-to-needle times, getting patients the medications they need to treat stroke very, very quickly. So it just means we have to spend a lot of effort to make sure we're hitting the mark and we have good outcomes. And so that's what it means to be a comprehensive center.
We're talking with Jason Rogers from Our Lady of the Lake about stroke awareness, and stroke treatment. When you say we have good outcomes, are there what kind of numbers are there? What constitutes good?
So we look at, first of all, it's so process measures where we look at how quickly we can get the patient the treatment they need. So whether it be giving them a clot busting drug or giving them going in and do a mechanical clot removal, things like that. We want to make sure that we're able to expedite the care for our patients. So it's really that process. And then we look at, how well our patients do after the fact. A lot of times strokes require a lot of rehab after. So we follow up with our patients. We make sure they get the rehab they need to live a full life after their stroke. So this all, like I said, it's comprehensive from start to finish. And we we make sure our patients are getting great care well into the rehab part of their journey. So
I know this is one that you can't really put a definitive answer on because it's based off of the amount of time, which goes back to that T and the B fast. But where we are now versus where we were a decade ago when it comes to rehab, I mean, it's light years down the road.
Absolutely, yeah, and the time is so important on the front end, to make sure you get the treatment. I could say this, in the last 5 to 6 years, we've gotten patients, the treatment they need. It used to be an hour and a half before they get the treatment, 90 minutes, and now we're looking at 20 minutes to get the treatment they need. So really done a lot of work on the front end, and then, like you said, the rehab and the advances on that front is so important, and making sure that our patients have the resources to get that rehab, and that's another piece of being a comprehensive center. We're held accountable for making sure that we have a great discharge plan for our stroke patients, and that's what being a comprehensive center means.
Got just another minute or two with Jason Rogers from Our Lady of the Lake. Okay, for those who have already had a stroke, are you more susceptible to a second one, or is it kind of once you've had it, it's kind of cleared all the bad parts out?
Yeah, you are more at risk once you have a stroke, and so staying on your medical regimen, ongoing is very, very important after you have a stroke, and having those annual follow-ups with your neurologist and your primary care physician is very, very important because you are more at risk.
Last one before we get you out of here, and I greatly, greatly appreciate your time this morning, Jason, and that is where can listeners go if they want to learn more and get in touch with some of y'all's resources?
We have a lot of resources on our website. That's ololrmc.com/stroke. And so there's a ton of resources there. And, we're happy to engage in anybody that needs that help. Yeah.
ololrmc.com/stroke. He is Jason Rogers from Our Lady of the Lake. I appreciate you hopping back on board, man. Thanks a million.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
We're at 726 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Still to come this hour, we've got WBRC's chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eachus, slated to join us later on in the hour. Also, we're going to move up this day in history because at 8:05, we've got Rodney Mallet slated to join us with DOTD. We talked with Fred Raiford in the last hour, and Fred was a wealth of information about prepping for a freeze and snow. It's not something we do every day in Louisiana. It's in fact part of the conversation was we know we get the punch list for a hurricane down pat, but when it comes to the winter weather, this is it's been 7 years since we've had snow in Baton Rouge. Last year we had a freeze with some freezing precipitation that shut down I-110 for well over. It was close to a full day that the 110 was closed down. But by and large, this isn't something we're used to. So we'll talk with Rodney Mallet at 8:05 about what exactly to expect on that front. And Josh Eachus this hour about what the latest is on the forecast. As we get closer and closer to the actual event, you can determine a little bit better exactly what it's going to look like. In the meanwhile, we do still have a full day before it gets there. If you don't have your lunch plans down yet, might I suggest the folks over at P.F. Chang's. Chinese food's surprisingly good in the cold weather, especially if you get something with a little heat to it, right? Something with a little spice to it. Or, something like one of the really great soups they got over there. Check them out. They're in Town Center, right off Corporate Boulevard. Look for the giant golden horse. I love P.F. Chang's. We'll take the whole family out there. It's a great family night, to be sure. You get all the kids. It's just, everybody's eating because there's something that everybody loves on that menu for sure. But it just, the atmosphere, the ambiance, the service all combines together to make for a great family event, to make for a memorable night. I took the family out a couple weeks ago over at P.F. Chang's. We're probably due to go again. It's it's just one of those times, man. One of those times where you appreciate being together as a family, and they bring the restaurant to that it has that inviting atmosphere. It has that family atmosphere. They were originally founded by Paul Fleming, who gave us Fleming Steakhouse. Before that, he would franchise Ruth Chris Steakhouses. Paul Fleming, actually Louisiana native, so believe it or not, P.F. Chang's is from Louisiana. But that's how he got his start, in franchising restaurants that were built for that atmosphere and for that level of service. So it holds true today. If you go to P.F. Chang's in Town Center, off Corporate Boulevard, look for the giant golden horse. You're going to be treated in a way that is beyond compare when it comes to Chinese food. No, by the way, when you think Chinese food, don't think like heavy takeout. Don't think like greasy takeout. Don't think like, you call, you place your order, and then it just sits in your gut. The food is lighter. The food is fresher. The food is healthier. Give them a look over at P.F. Chang's. We got 1 minute until we check news, traffic, weather right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Hopefully we'll connect with Dr. Josh Eachus on the back end of that weather forecast. When we come back from our bottom of the hour news break, we're going to run down school closures for you. Spoiler alert, it's everybody. But we'll also take a look at a number of the other preps and closures as well, and we'll have this day in history as well. Hey, before we get you to news at the bottom of the hour, don't forget, Talk 107.3 FM, provided we can get there, is bringing you coverage of Washington Mardi Gras. We're heading back to the nation's capital, God willing, on January 23rd and the 24th. We'll be broadcasting live from the Washington Hilton for this show, Mornings with Brian Haldane, as well as a special afternoon drive show from 4 till 6. Our coverage is presented by Presley Wealth Management, Rev, the Baton Rouge Metro Airport, and Restore the Mississippi River Delta. Excuse me. See, if we weren't freezing right now, I would be asking the question, how do you pardon someone who hasn't committed a crime? When they first mentioned pardoning Fauci, it came up. Jesus. God. Are you hearing Richard?
Oh, I got one ear in.
He's on a roll, man. What in the hell is going on down the hallway?
Let me tell you something. I knew he was going to be on a roll when I met him at the coffee pot.
You know what happened? I can, without even knowing what he's talking about, I know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Dixon McMakin tweeted about him last night. So he's talking about the Indian mounds. Oh, man. Which I've always... the Indian mounds are the oldest dirt on the planet. What?
Oh, yeah, now I can really...
Right? Okay, we got Josh at 7:40 instead.
Oh, awesome.
So completely revamp everything I just said.
Okay.
Fucking love emergency stuff.
So we got Josh there. Are we going to do this day in history abbreviated?
On the back end. Yeah.
Oh, back end. Okay.
That 7:55, yes.
Okay. Perfect.
All right. Now I just got to find enough shit to talk with Moon about.
Oh, man, it's inauguration day. I'm pretty sure it's going to.
Yeah. I just...
So not to rub salt in the wound, but so Dixon kind of took jabs at Condon, or was it positive?
Oh, no, it was. They were on the same side.
Oh, okay, good.
They were on the same side.
Good.
If you live around LSU and you're walking around after the snow, let the kids go slide down the Indian Mounds. There's not a whole lot of places with hills in town, so
Right. Hey, I mean,
go out there with the cardboard box that's a makeshift sled
there we go.
and slide down the Indian Mounds. That's which I'm like, well, you could do that on the levee too, but whatever. You do that by
Dude, yeah.
go to the state capitol, and you got the garden in front.
Yes. Or you just do the Indian Mounds. Huh?
It's stupid though. Like, I don't know what the history of the Indian Mounds. Like, I don't know who first verified what they were, but I've always questioned whether or not they were just dirt that was removed from the quad. They're right next to the damn quad. If I'm building out basements in the quad and I'm digging out dirt, I'm putting it in an effing pile about 100 yards away, and then over time, shit grows over it.
Be nothing sacred about it at all. It's just
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe the dirt they turned over digging out the basement at an Allen Hall or Coates. Shit, now he's got me going. So good. You know what? We're supposed to get our forecast from WBRC meteorologist Emma Kate Cowan right here. But, John, I feel kind of we're in the moment. We're like, there's a lot that's been moving. There's a lot of moving pieces to this show this morning because we're prepping for tomorrow's snow. So I tell you what, we got to bag the forecast right here. My apologies to Emma Kate. I'm sure she understands because WBRC's chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eachus, is coming up in about 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Enough time for, you can go ahead and kill that bet. Enough time for me to remind you about the folks over at Vex European. VEX. VexEuropean.com is the website if you wanted to check them out online. Who needs to know about Vex European? Well, if you drive a European vehicle, you need to check out VexEuropean.com. See if your make of vehicle is one that they service. And if it is, you're going to be paired with a master-level, expert-level technician in your make of vehicle. For example, I drive a 17-year-old Mercedes-Benz. Now that we've rolled over to 2025, I can call it 17. My goodness gracious. A 17-year-old Mercedes. Car needs a little TLC, which is why I go to Vex European. If you drive a BMW, a Land Rover, a Jaguar, shout out if you're James Bond and you drive an Aston Martin, Vex has got you covered. Yesterday, I saw a gorgeous Ferrari on Marquette when it was coming out of church. Vex European's your answer right there. VEX, VexEuropean.com. They're located on the back side of Industrialplex on Benefit Drive, but I would start right there at the website, VexEuropean.com. And oh, by the way, while you're there, don't just hit that vehicles drop down, hit the specials drop down tab as well. Might be able to save yourself $100 on your first visit over at VexEuropean.com. All right. Dr. Josh Eachus coming up in exactly 60 seconds from right now. And, well, we're going to be talking about what to expect over the next 24 to 48 hours. Actually, it's not going to start until the wee hours of Tuesday morning, depending on what app you're looking at, as to when the snow flurries will actually start. So we're around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, maybe even 5 a.m., but it's going to pick up from there, and it's going to be more than just flurries, and there's going to be accumulation, and the big questions start rolling in, how much and for how long. Well, the further out you are, the harder it is to tell. As we get closer, we should be able to tell a little bit better. So, Dr. Josh Eachus is going to be on the hotline with us here in just a second. Right now, though, I promised reporting on school closures coming up right here. Basically, it's everybody. Obviously, all the schools are closed today for Martin Luther King Day. Well, they're all closed tomorrow as well. Now, if you're asking about Wednesday and what schools are going to reopen, nobody's posted anything yet, but I would be shocked. I would be shocked if most of them didn't stay closed for one more day after that. But a lot of this you can't know until you see how much snow actually falls. Joining us now is Dr. Josh Eachus, WBRZ's chief meteorologist. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Brian. Chaotic weekend, getting ready for the main event of this Arctic blast, but it's on the way tomorrow.
Yes, yeah, and it has been. And if you're, I've been constantly hitting refresh just to get an idea of how much snow we're actually going to get. And I mean, if you bump around social media at all, you can drive yourself insane with some of the paranoid forecasts that are out there. What are we looking at as far as actual snowfall and actual how much will accumulate and stick around?
You know, in reality, we're going to have a wide range of totals around the area. Just like with rain, you're usually going to see these point locations that receive quite a bit more than the broader most. And I think for the most, that's going to be in that. I think the pretty well advertised range has been about 3 to 6 inches. And as I say 3 to 6, what happens with snow forecasts is you get a game of whisper down the lane going. People say, "Oh, he said 6." Well, remember, he gets 3 too. So we're not getting angry at everybody if you don't get as much as you wanted. And there will be some isolated pockets, small areas, bullseyes that go a little bit higher than that. Again, just with rain. Mm-hmm. But that's beside the point. Anything north of 2-3 inches in this area is going to shut things down. We already know that's going to happen.
Right.
Roads are going to be impassable tomorrow. They're going to remain impassable tomorrow night. And I just caught the end of your segment there into Wednesday too. I think the challenge actually might become Thursday morning. Can we start to melt on Wednesday afternoon and melt enough that we don't have icy and snowy pockets still around on Thursday? Because we are not going to have a whole lot of time above freezing on Wednesday.
Okay, so this is exactly where I wanted the conversation to go. Once it's done snowing, what factors? I mean, is temperature the only factor that helps get rid of this? I mean, does wind factor into it as well?
Wind can, when you get let's say the snow level low enough on the roads. There are multiple things though. So the main is going to be temperature, but number 2 is sun. It is going to help us that the sun should come out on Wednesday afternoon.
Okay.
And then there's kind of a catch-22, and that's with travel over the snow. It's dangerous to drive in the snow, but at the same time, the more we're churning that up and slushing that up, that friction warms the snow and helps melt it as well, and then the sun and the temperatures can do more work. I'm not saying everybody needs to get out there and team effort, try to help melt the snow by driving on it, but, you know, as a few more people do emerge on Wednesday afternoon, especially with the sun out and the temperatures up, even emergency vehicles and mandatory workers, that is going to work in our aid. But I just don't think it's going to be enough to melt everything on Wednesday, that we wouldn't have some less traveled side streets and those elevated areas not re-ice up on Wednesday night into Thursday morning.
Yeah, one of the things I remembered, and we were talking with WBRZ's chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eachus. One of the things I remember, we had a very light freeze with precipitation last year to shut down I-110 for basically a whole day. And that was very, very light. This is a completely different scenario. So walk us through what we can expect when it comes to, like, let's start with the biggest artery through, in the Mississippi River Bridge. I wouldn't expect that to be open again until when?
My gut instinct is Thursday sometime, but maybe we'll get surprised by enough sun and melting, and it accelerates a little bit more quickly than I expect on Wednesday afternoon. Maybe there's a brief period, but I don't recall. I've been here for 11 years. I don't recall events where they've opened it and reclosed it. I think they try to just wait until they're fully ready. So I don't know that with the sun and temperatures on Wednesday afternoon, it would give us a little bit of a window, and then they close it back down for Thursday morning. But I just find it hard to imagine we get enough melting, or unless we have some snowplow fleet I'm unaware of, that they can clear this more quickly. It seems like Thursday would be what I would kind of target. Anything before that I would consider a bonus.
I don't think we have a snowplow fleet. We talked with Fred Raiford back in the first hour, and he had mentioned having some. He used the term makeshift snowplow. So I love when Fred goes all Fred. But yeah, makeshift snowplow. It's but that's for EBR. We're going to talk with Rodney Mallet coming up at 8:05. We can ask about that because while North Louisiana would be getting it worse than we would, that I-10 artery is of a level of importance that probably should garner some attention. Josh, I want to ask you about the snowfall itself, and what type of storm are we expecting here? Is this going to be like the blizzard type where you have a ton of wind going along with the snow downfall?
Yeah, we're going to have wind out there, but I don't expect blizzard conditions. What we're going to do is likely see a period of maybe 4 to 6 hours of pretty heavy snowfall rates. Visibility will be low just by the rate of the snow that's coming down. Unusual for sorry about that. Phone alarm's going off. Unusual for this part of the country to see snowfall rates that we're expecting, but really from about daybreak tomorrow until just after lunchtime, maybe 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, it's going to be difficult to, let alone be on the roads driving that way, but you wouldn't be able to see very much thanks to the snow rates that are coming down. So I don't really look for a wind-driven snow, but I do look for heavy snow. We're going to get a lot in a short time. And then other types of snow we talk about, is it heavy wet snow or is it light fluffy snow? Even more unusual for this part of the country, we believe there's going to be enough cold air and enough relatively drier air that this would be a fluffier type of snow rather than a wet, slushy type of snow, which would be more common in the rare instances when we do get snow here.
Another part of the accumulation equation here is how the temperature of the ground itself, correct?
Mm-hmm. A little bit. That's not going to be an issue here. Snow should start sticking immediately because the air temperature overnight tonight is going down into the 20s before that begins. So I don't think that's going to play as big of a role. The temperature does play a role in the accumulations just by a dry and fluffy snow will accumulate higher than a heavy wet snow. I had a really long post on my Facebook yesterday that some may have caught about rain to snow ratios. And typically the general rule of thumb is for every inch of rain you get, that's 10 inches of snow. When it's a heavy wet snow, it's kind of like a 6-to-1 ratio. When it's a really fluffy snow, it's like a 15-to-1. I think we're going to be closer to that 10-to-1. So it's, an inch of rain we would not bat an eye at around here, but an inch of rain in these conditions leads to about, 10 inches of snow. And I think we're going to be in that ratio where, we're going to see it pile up quickly.
Wow. Okay. So in comparison, if this were rain and not snow, this would be a big nothing.
It would, yeah. This would probably be, and I said 10 inches just for the ratio example. I don't think we're going to get that much. I think we're kind of looking at like a half inch to 3/4 of an inch of liquid, but that results in about 5 inches of snow for some locations, and that's a lot. And that's why I encourage people not to get hung up on totals. Think about that math I did. Half inch to 3/4 of an inch of rain, nobody would care if that they were forecasted a half inch and got 3/4 of an inch.
Right.
But that's the difference between 5 and 8 inches of snow. People get more hung up on that, but it's a really fine line. It's a small ratio in frozen precipitation versus liquid.
Lastly, and before we get you out of here, thank you so much for a couple minutes this morning. And yes, I'm going to want to get you back on tomorrow morning if possible. Lastly, before we get you out of here, is duration. I'm seeing on different apps, and I know don't trust the apps, but I'm seeing on some apps where this will be over with like early afternoon tomorrow or mid-afternoon tomorrow. Does it matter at all that it would stop before, quote unquote, sundown?
It's a good question. It would help if we would get a little bit of sun for the end of the day. I just don't quite see enough getting out. I mean, I do see the snow kind of wrapping up mid to late afternoon, technically before sunset, but I'm not sure that we'd see any sun return. And even if we did, it would probably be too short in duration to make a big difference. So No, I think we're pretty well shut in for tomorrow, and won't get any help on the back end. Find earlier wrap up time.
Well, yeah, no, I'm looking ahead to Wednesday.
Right.
Tomorrow is for the kids, man. Tomorrow, get out, get out in your yard, and that's about as far as you should go from your house as your yard. Enjoy it with the kids. I'm looking forward to Wednesday when the sun comes back out again. How long it takes us to get back into a working mode.
Yeah, I do like to view it as a net positive. For fun, for the kids' sake, for a once in a lifetime experience for many. We don't like to be shut down. We don't like to be shut in. We really hope there's not power issues. I think with the lack of ice, we should be in decent shape. There might be some spotty outages. That goes a weak branch goes over a line, but I wouldn't think it'd be a repeat of the 21 ice storm. So we hope everybody can stay warm in their house with power, with heat. The question will become, how quickly do our roads respond on Wednesday and Thursday? But because of the cold, it might take a little time, and then some frustrations may start.
He is WBRZ's chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eachus. We will reconnect tomorrow morning, sir. You do your best to stay warm through all this.
You as well, Brian. Talk to you tomorrow.
All right, we'll talk to you then. We're coming up on 750 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. All right. That I don't know that changed any of my expectations, but I think more to the point, reaffirmed my expectations. So Dr. Josh Eachus, always a very valuable resource. All right, we're coming up on Your Money Now. After Your Money Now, we're going to have an abbreviated version of This Day in History presented by the folks over at 5 Star Printing and Signs. In our 8 o'clock hour, let's talk about the roads. Rodney Mallet from DOTD will join us at 8:05. Then we're going to talk inauguration with Moon Griffon. That's all on the way next. All right, so far so good. We're hitting all the high points and covering all the benchmarks. Well, we're covering the benchmarks without missing the high points. I think we're managing news okay this morning. Oh yeah, for sure. I am not, however, staying dialed in on Facebook like I should. This is one of my New Year's resolutions.
One of your New Year's resolutions? Or are you reading it?
Do what? One of my New Year's resolutions. No, one of my New Year's resolutions is to stay dialed in on a lot of what's going on the stream on the chat. For example, I would love to know what this comment was, but it's further back. What's the comment about, according yet another TV network, CNN ordered? I can't scroll back that far. It doesn't let me scroll back that far. Will it not scroll back for you either? Oh, wait, here we go.
was gonna say
Okay, yet another TV network, CNN, ordered to pay millions for libel. That's okay. We'll skip the spelling aside. Keep these cases going, and maybe we can get honest reporting for all Americans. Keith says, according to Brian Haldane, go to TikTok, they're a paragon of free speech. They 100% are. You know what my feed was filled with during the election time? Black Republicans. The number of African-American men, young African-American men for Trump. Yeah. Now, numbers-wise overall, it wasn't going to play out that way at the polls, but just to see those voices coming forward and being heard. Galen says, my social media of choice is currently YouTube. Weird that the content there is more sound and correct than CNN, MSNBC, etc. You know who else I have a lot of on my TikTok feed is Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk. I mean, not exactly a liberal voice, right? Hell, even Bill Maher's coming around to being sensible. Yeah, it's Bill Maher has always been sensible. I just disagree with a lot of his politics. But like even back when his show got canceled, for saying something politically incorrect. He said something politically incorrect on a show that was called Politically Incorrect.
Right. Yeah, I think that's where I was going to go with that too. I'm like, wasn't the show called Politically Incorrect?
7:55, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We're going to talk snow prep with Rodney Mallet from DOTD in our next hour. We're going to talk with Moon Griffon about the inauguration in our next hour. And LABI has their upcoming annual meeting. We'll speak with Will Green at 8:35. That's all still to come. Right now, though, we're moving up this day in history. All right.
Well,
we got to move fast on this one.
Yes, we do, and it's stacked with history today. Starting off 1937, where the first U.S. presidential inauguration day was held on January 20th, of course. Previously, it was March 4th, as you mentioned, the first hour as well.
1892.
Oh.
The first official basketball game was played in Springfield, Massachusetts by YMCA students. They were students of the game's inventor, Dr. James A. Naismith.
Hey.
Greatest sport ever known to man.
There we go.
Played for the first time on this day in 1892.
And, of course, speaking of Inauguration Day, YMCA.
Oh!
You already know. The village people are going to be there today,
Get
baby.
your Trump dance ready.
That's it. Hey, check this out. Aside from inaugurations here, 1949, J. Edgar Hoover gives Shirley Temple a tear gas fountain pen.
What?
Seems odd, right? But apparently Hoover felt it his duty to protect America's most beloved child star, Shirley Temple. And, of course, she has been threatened with kidnappings and things like that. So he actually gave her something to defend herself with, which was a tear gas pin. Fascinating for sure.
Okay.
Let's see. 1949 here. U.S. President Harry Truman announces his 4-point program.
Okay.
Also, 1953, the first live U.S. coast-to-coast inauguration address was given by President Dwight Eisenhower.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, oh, my gosh, it's so – of course, we got to keep it abbreviated, but as we know, I mean, so many inaugurations happen today.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Barack Obama, Joe Biden.
Yeah.
It's and, of course, now it'll be actually, this was Donald Trump was sworn in as 45.
Yes,
on January 20th as well.
It was. Hey, 1980, U.S. President Jimmy Carter announces U.S. boycott of Winter Olympics in Moscow after the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. So that happened as well today.
All right.
Also, the U.S. diplomats and citizens held hostage at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran.
Iranian hostages were released on this day.
1981.
Also, and this day in 2019, a day that I don't know that I'll ever be able to forget, a day that I will do my best to repress Today was the NFC Championship game. Yours truly was in the Superdome for the Saints versus the Rams.
Okay.
And the no call.
Oof.
Pass interference. Courtney
Yeah.
Roby, whatever. Courtney Nickel Roby, whatever his name was.
Tough day for sure. You want to move on to birthdays?
Yep.
Hey, I got an astronaut here, Buzz Aldrin.
Oh,
Got
okay.
him. Of course, who else? David Lynch. Of course, he unfortunately passed away earlier
last
this
week.
Yeah. And let's see who else we got here. Actor Evan Peters as well.
Okay.
Let's see who else. You got anybody on your end?
Yeah, I got a ton. Bill Maher was born on this day in 1956.
Okay.
You already had Buzz Aldrin. How about Italian filmmaker Federico Fellini, born on this day in 1920? George Burns, born on this day in 1896. Anybody who collected baseball cards in the 1990s is familiar with the name Kevin Moss. Well, every one of those 1990 Kevin Moss and Frank Thomas, didn't they? Kevin Moss is born on this day in 1965. Former LSU Tiger Eddie Kinnison, born on this day in 1973.
All right. Deaths, Audrey Hepburn
Mm-hmm.
and Meatloaf today. Anybody on your end?
Yeah, we had died on this day in 1984 Olympian he played Tarzan, Johnny Weissmuller.
All right. And, of course, National Day is today, Martin Luther King Day.
Yep, it is Martin Luther King Day, and we will not mention other days because Martin Luther King gets his own news cycle.
That's right.
Well, except for the inauguration. All right, we got a break for news, traffic, weather. Rodney Mallet joins us next. I'm going to get the space heater. I'll be back. I'm freezing. Oh, there's my pencil. No, somebody put a stack of, like, the Lopa thing and the napkins and the keyboard that goes over there. They put it all in a stack over here. I'm like, what the? I don't know. Oh, shoot. Awesome sauce. Get ready for the warmth. The World War II space heater is in the house.
And for those who don't know, I mean, this thing is a beast. Like I feel it over here. And
Yeah.
there's
a wall.
There's a wall in between us, so.
Half a wall.
But still, it's enough.
Close the
It
door
keeps
to the
my.
studio.
Oh yeah.
We cook.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like,
There
we
he
can use
is.
this thing to make brisket. Hey.
Yeah. Of course you heard Meatloaf. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Such a good album. Bad Out of Hell, the first one. I mean, they were all good.
Keith says, I was talking of your love of TikTok. Dude, it's not like I'm embarrassed by it. It's not. I know you feel like you're taking a shot, but you're 100% right.
Right.
If you want free speech, that's the best outlet for it.
And see, while I never really used TikTok. I mean, I have an account, but I never really.
And that's why Congress is so scared of it.
Yeah.
Nothing scares Congress more than you and me talking to each other directly.
Right. And the reporting, I mean, news. That's another thing I got to say, because my wife is really big into TikTok. And the way news updates, I mean, it's just quick because it's from the people, right? It happens. It's from the people. It's immediately there. So yeah. Oh, that's why. Okay.
Oh, I want Fred's answer when he talks about using the last segment instead of the outside in. When he talks about the homemade or makeshift snowplows. Yeah. .806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. We are getting you ready for inauguration in our next segment. We're going to talk with Moon Griffon about that. Man, we're preempting Moon today. You're going to get an hour's worth of Moon, and then we go to inauguration. You'll get Moon from 9 to 10. Then we hand off to Stephen Portnoy over at ABC, who's handling the play-by-play duties of I say play-by-play. It's a sports analogy. It's not really play-by-play, but he's anchoring the coverage. If it were really play-by-play, we'd go with Ian Eagle or Kevin Harlan from Westwood. We'll have the inauguration for you right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Meanwhile, we're getting ready for snow here in Baton Rouge. What does that mean on the roads? Well, the Department of Transportation's Rodney Mallet is on with us right now. Rodney, how are things looking to start off your Monday?
Well, they're looking a lot better today than they will tomorrow.
Yeah, true. What goes into prep for Louisiana roads when it comes to a snowstorm?
So Saturday, we spent most of the day pre-staging salt and brine and all our equipment at different areas across the state because we've been through something like this before. This one has the potential to be, way worse and a lot different. But what we do is we stage, and then like yesterday, we pre-treated with brine all of our major bridges. And then today we're going to be doing the same thing. And throughout the evening, we're just going to try to pre-treat as much as possible. And I just want everybody to know that we can pre-treat and treat and do everything possible, but some routes, such as the Atchafalaya Basin Bridge, which is 18 miles over water, that's going to freeze and become impassable. Right. And at that point, we will, close that and then focus all of our energy on US 190. The longest bridge on that route is the 4-mile bridge over by Krotz Springs. And so the main thing we want to do is try to keep at least one of the U.S. routes or an interstate open through the state. So north and south, that's going to be I-49. East and west, it's going to be I-10, and then US 190 and 61, and up north is going to be I-20.
We're talking with DOTD's Rodney Mallet about what to expect over the next couple days. Bringing it a little bit closer to home, Rodney, the Mississippi River Bridge over I-10 obviously is an unbelievably vital passage point there. Efforts on the Mississippi River Bridge will look like what?
Oh, we're the same thing. We do this all the time. We will pre-treat it. Now it's a longer bridge than you think, and it's also very wide. So it has frozen over in the past, and when that occurs, then the route that we will keep open and have been able to keep open is the US 190 Huey P. Long Bridge. So we will reroute people who are already on US 190 to keep them on that route. We do not anticipate a whole lot of traffic. We're hoping that folks will heed the warnings and not try to mess with Mother Nature on this event, and will stay at home. But for those who must get out, it's going to be slow travels, safe travels, and it's going to be probably different than what you're used to, because if we close down I-10, it's going to be US 190, which isn't a bad route. It's not that much of a delay, and we have better potential to keep that open.
Okay, so speaking with that, if you take the old bridge, and then you probably just stay on airline all the way up until 12, you're not going to rejoin on 10, because I recall about this time last year we had a little bit of light frozen precipitation, and 110 had to be shut down for an entire day because of that. So I would imagine just keeping folks on ground level, you'd keep them on airline?
That's exactly right. And you bring up a really good point. The 110, we will close that early, because there are so many alternate routes on ground level to get where you want to go. And 110 is elevated the whole way.
Yeah.
So that thing is going to freeze and stay frozen. When there's alternate routes that you can use, we will spend our assets on the routes that we need to keep open, the priority routes, the 190, the Huey P. Long Bridge, and all of that. And I do want to add, there's something new that I should have said earlier, is like all the DOTs, pretty close. We all know what each other goes through. And so when Florida had the hurricane this year and they needed help cleaning up, we sent folks over there to help Florida. And just like this event, everybody knows it's going to be an unusual event and that we're going to get hit pretty hard. And so Arkansas is sending down some assets. They have a lot more assets for snow and ice. The northern part of Arkansas gets snow and ice all the time. So they're sending down some snow plows and some brine sprayers and salt throwers too. So it's going to be a concerted effort, a team effort with us, Arkansas, and we're hoping that we can keep the roads open, and we're going to try as long as possible.
Yeah, I guess the ideal scenario is to keep the roads open for no one.
That's perfect. Yeah, that would be great.
I said
or me and you, because I think we both have to get out in it.
Yeah, well, we're looking to minimize our drive over here as much as possible, stay on the air for tomorrow morning as well. We're talking about Rodney Mallet for just a couple more minutes. Two more hot spots, or cold spots, as it were, that I want to touch on, Rodney. Number one, keeping it close to home. Amite River, same protocol there. Will we be looking at the interstate versus 190?
Well, Amite is hit and miss. We've been able to keep that bridge open at times. It's one that we certainly will try to keep open and put a lot of resources on to keep it open. But like you said, if it becomes impassable, there is an alternate route for you to take. Yes.
And then further down New Orleans way, and this is more of a question for Wednesday morning than Tuesday, but Bonacary Spillway looks about the same as the Atchafalaya, just on a shorter distance. Are we expecting sub-freezing down in New Orleans too?
We are. We're anticipating it. The New Orleans district is also brining their bridges and pre-treating all of their bridges in preparations for that kind of scenario. And again, that is another situation where if it becomes impassable, 61 is a lot easier to keep open, and it is an alternate route that can get you where you need to go. That's why people need to plan ahead and drive slow. I mean, you're probably going to have to take a longer way. And if you do, you just need to drive slow and use all the precaution you can and make sure you're wearing your seatbelt. And check 511la.org. We're going to update that as we get closure notices, but keep in mind that conditions can change really quick. So some roads may ice over before we get the notification on 511la.org. But if you want the most up-to-date information, that's where you're going to get it.
You had mentioned plows just a minute ago, and I'm going to keep you for like 3 more minutes at the most. You had mentioned plows just a minute ago. Prioritizing those, I mean, I would imagine that's going to be they're going to stay in North Louisiana, huh?
Actually, they're not, because it looks like there are going to be some assets on I-20 and 220 for sure, but we're bringing more of it down here to the I-10, 12, US 190 corridor. It looks like the larger amounts of snowfall and ice are going to be in your listening area.
Wow.
So that's where we're going to focus a lot of our attention.
All right, last one before I get you out of here, and I need you to turn to Mr. Wizard for just a minute. The science behind the brining, the science behind the salt, just for those that aren't familiar with it. I mean, I only know the short answer is that salt lowers the freezing temperature of water. That's the only part I know. But the usage of it on the roads, we rely on this because fill in the blank.
It does. It kind of mitigates the freezing process. We have people who say, well, why don't you use sand? Well, sand doesn't melt or have anything to do with the ice temperature. It helps you get traction, but it also holds water. So once it gets below freezing, you have a frozen clod of dirt.
Right.
So, the salt actually does exactly what you were saying. If you get the salt mixture on there, the brine, that's what we're doing first. It'll soak into the bridge and help delay any of the freezing. Then we will be spraying actual rock, the hard salt on those bridges and the priority routes to try to mitigate that freezing process. Now, if you want to get into the science of it, you're going to have to talk to somebody else, because I'm a liberal arts major, but I do know how the salt works over like sand and other materials.
That was exactly what I was looking for. He is Rodney Mallet from DOTD. Can I tentatively get you on the schedule for tomorrow as well?
Anytime. You know how to reach me.
Yes, sir, I do. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you as always, Rodney. Appreciate it.
Bye, man.
But later on, it's 8:16 at Talk 107.3 FM. We'll take a quick break. Time to pivot back to Inauguration. Moon Griffon's up next. Oh. Who in the shit is this? Hello. We'll have you. We'll have you on here in just a few short minutes. Thank you. So, do you want it just where he mentions the makeshift snow plows, or do you want like before that? A little bit before that as well. I guess just to keep the context. Yeah. 819, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along, doing our level best to balance everything between the upcoming snowstorm and the inauguration. Last segment was on snowstorm. This segment, obviously, talking a little bit about inauguration. Moon Griffon joins us right now. You can catch him weekdays, well, normally weekdays 9 to 11 right here on Talk 107.3 FM. But today, because of the events and festivities going on in Washington, D.C., we got 1 hour of Moon, and then we'll hand off to the inauguration coverage from there. Moon, how are you, sir?
Man, I am doing great, Brian. A little chilly, but not as cold as it's going to be the next couple of days.
It's going to get rough, man. It is going to get rough. Over there in Lafayette, how are y'all expecting about the same level as we are in Baton Rouge?
They, I saw 2 to 3. Now I'm seeing 8 to 10, and it's like I tell people, meteorologists don't seem to get it right. I hope it's on the lesser side. I know people get excited about snow for the kids, and I hope they get to enjoy it so we don't get it much. But I hope it comes and goes pretty quick, too. I was told to have it by my producer, not my producer, but the program director, that don't expect to come here tomorrow. I said, well, I plan on coming in there. He said, well, don't expect it. That if everything happens like it is, where I live out in the country, I'll never be able to make it in. So we got a plan for tomorrow. My plan is to come in, but that don't mean I'm going to make it in, but we'll have a show regardless.
Okay. All right. Looking forward to it. One way or another, we'll have the Moon Griffon show for you right here. All right. Before all that, coming up at 11 o'clock our time, Donald Trump will put his hand on the Bible and another hand in the air and get sworn in for another term. Let's talk about what we can expect in the immediate aftermath.
Well, first thing is he's claiming he's got about 100 or 200 executive orders to sign, and I'm curious to see what that comes out. I mean, I've read what people have put out dealing with the borders, dealing with money spent on the Green New Deal, the climate accord. I just don't know everything he's going to sign into law. You know, executive orders can be challenged, but I'm sure he's going to do everything he can to change the direction of the country as quick as he can, and that a lot of people would be thankful for. You know, it's a shame, Brian, and I'm one of those guys that you may not be. I think Trump won the last time, and I think Joe Biden didn't get 15 million more votes than Obama and Hillary. It's a shame we're not wrapping up Trump's second term. I just think they've done so much damage. He's got a hard road, and I'm warning people that they better be patient with President Trump. And what I mean by that is you still have a Congress. You still have a tightly controlled Congress by the Republicans. And are they going to make the changes they need to really get the country in another direction? The president can do so much, but it's going to mean Mike Johnson and John Thune, who's the president, Senator President, those guys are going to have to be on board, because if not, you can't afford to lose many votes.
Right.
And I'm just telling people that we need to be very patient, because I don't think they're going to turn everything around in one day. I think Biden and the Democrats have hurt us that bad when it comes to debt. By the way, Republicans are involved in that too. Debt, border, and things of that nature, that some of this stuff's going to take a little while to change.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And the hard part here becomes not so much Mike Johnson, but the Republicans who decide they want to put their foot in the ground to just be obstinate to everything. And that's where, as Republicans, we end up losing a handful of votes and have to go back and court Democrats to make up that ground. And then that's where all the compromise comes in. So if you're Mike Johnson, what do you do to keep party unity, which really, Moon, on the right side of the aisle doesn't really mean much?
Well, there's two things I'll say. Number one is make them have to vote, Brian. Let's see who's for the country, who's for changing the country, and who's not. Bring up votes. You may not win on the first run. Let's see what Republicans do that. But on the flip side, let me throw one other thing at you. I understand it. I get mad at Republicans. But Democrats on the House side and the Senate side, let's find out if they really love America, or do they just want to try to run it so they can get back in power? We've already saw what they can do the last 4 years. You see what I'm saying? We're not going to blame Democrats for nothing. We're going to just let them be the party of no, hell no. We're going to fight you to the death. So I think Johnson's key role, make people vote. Let's see, and make them vote early. And let's see what Republicans decide they're going to go with the Democrats. Because I think the Democrats, for the most part, are the most destructive group out there. Now, I agree with you. Republicans are going to take a lot of heat because they're in control. But how about the Democrats? Are we going to hold them responsible at all for what they're getting ready to do to try to stop the Trump train?
Well, but the problem there, Moon, is we can hold them responsible all day long. But you and I didn't vote for them. We're not in their district. So they're currying favor with the people who feel the way that they vote anyway. So
yeah, but everybody, I think you agree with me. Whether you like Trump or not, or you vote against him or not, you want to see America. I feel like a lot of people that voted against him still want America to be great. They still want America to do things, and they want inflation to come down. They want to be able to afford things. And if you're blocking everything or trying to hurt everything so you can get back in power, some of those people are going to wake up. I really believe that. But you are correct. We're not voting for people in New York and California and things of that nature. But, hey, we do have a Cleo Fields and we do have a Troy Carter. And I think you get to interview them a lot.
Yeah.
We got to ask them why they vote the way they vote if they continue to vote against everything that improves America.
We're talking with Moon Griffon. You catch him weekdays 9 to 11 right here on Talk 107.3 FM, although plans will be a little bit different for today. Moon, it's hard to talk about anything past the inauguration or past the executive orders that are to follow. But, man, if you're sticking with just today's festivities, today's events, how huge is today going to be when you look at just the second time in American history a president is sworn in for a second non-consecutive term?
Yeah, I just think it's exciting because I think, look, I don't think Trump's God, but I think it's exciting anytime there's a change of the guard and it's going to be a change of direction. And I think people are really excited about it for the most part. I do. And I think there's a lot of hope, Brian. You know, hope is a beautiful thing. And if you don't have hope, you don't have anything. You know, people commit suicide because they don't have any hope. Yeah. I think with the new swearing in, let's see what the executive orders are and things of that nature, people have hope again. They really want to see a change. They really believe that America's great and that we just want to continue to be number one in the world in everything we do. And I think that's the America you and me grew up in. But it has problems, and you got to go along and try to fix those problems. But, man, hope is a good thing. And I think that's what it is about. I think inauguration of a president, like I said, I wish he was about to retire and we had a new Republican coming in because we had 8 great years. That's what I wish. But, I mean, that's not dealing with reality. So Trump coming back in, I noticed a lot of people on the left are starting to come his way. There's even Democrats in the Senate like Fetterman talking about voting for Trump's nominees and maybe voting for Trump's agenda. So that's why the hope comes in. I'm hoping that really happens.
Well, you mentioned John Fetterman. What a turnaround there. I was in the camp, Moon, that said you're putting that poor guy out there after having a stroke. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to the people that are going to the polls. Meanwhile, as his recovery has continued, he's proven to be one of the more level-headed voices there is.
Well, I did the same thing you did. I thought, this guy here's a joke. But right now, he's at least, I'm not saying you're going to get him every vote, but at least he's open-minded to what we've been doing that needs to be changed. Don't forget, though, he's also probably up for re-election in 2 years, and Trump's still going to be president. And I just think some of that plays into that, some of the politics of it. But I think Trump and the Republicans can use it to their benefit on things that they stand. Because remember, Pennsylvania went pretty good for Donald Trump, and Fetterman sees that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not hard to follow. I'm not going to say read the tea leaves because it's already out there. It's not hard to follow those trends.
I gave you an example. I know you get the interview and you won't come on me, and I'm pretty heavy on Bill Cassidy. Mm-hmm. But Cassidy's changing his stripes too because I don't think he thought Trump could ever win. So now he's in there. He knows J.D. Vance well because they work together.
Yeah.
Cassidy's due for in 2 years. So you're going to see some of the things with Cassidy the same way. Now, I don't put him in the Fetterman camp. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying you see a lot of these people that impeach him or somebody like Fetterman saying, you know, I'm running again in 2 years. If this guy does well in 2 years, I don't want to be on the wrong side. And I think some of that happens Republican and Democrat.
Well, look, when it comes to Bill Cassidy, he's had a remarkably conservative voting record, but to impeach the president or vote to convict twice, not once, twice, man, Moon, look, I'm a Catholic. Reconciliation begins with confession. And I think if Bill Cassidy were open and talking about why he voted the way he did, I think that would go a long way with voters to understand what his mindset was over what his actions were.
You know, Brian, I did, and you're right about that. I think the impeachment was big, but it's not just that. They got him on tape, going on TV, and saying a lot of things. I played some of them on my program, and I think Cassidy felt like he was safe because he didn't think Donald Trump could ever win again. And I think, you know, so how much is sincere and how much is not sincere, that's the part that's hard to read.
No,
it's
it is.
hard to read.
It
but
is.
The other thing is, you close the primaries, and I travel her whole state, and I've spoken at a lot of Republican events. They're not happy with him at all. So he's got a long way to go, and he's only got 15 months.
Right.
Because of closed primaries, you get to 2026 in March or April, we haven't closed primaries. So that's a short time. That's not a lot of time. So we'll see what he does.
Well, it's actually we're going to get out of here. It's actually to his benefit that Donald Trump won again because he can make up ground. If Donald Trump did not win again, that book would have been closed on him because he would have been part of the closing of the book.
It's going to be hard to make up ground, maybe
Oh, yeah.
not with Donald Trump, but with the voters of Louisiana who want to vote against it.
Completely
If you go read
agree.
a lot of the posts, it's not pretty.
We got Moon Griffon coming your way half an hour from right now. Moon, you do your best to stay warm, brother. We'll talk soon.
Ron, always a pleasure. God bless, brother. Thank you.
You too. Here's news. All right. It's the first time I've called him out publicly. I may or may not have had off-the-record conversations about that reconciliation comparison. But if you want forgiveness, you have to confess. Not to go all Catholic on it, but I'm Catholic. Not to make my show a sacramental. Because that's sacrilegious as all get out. I really, really want Trump to challenge these preemptive pardons. I got to get my notes for the next segment. 1,000% agree, Caitlin. Should I lead off my weather by saying, Dear Baton Rouge, stop promising more inches than you can deliver? It is so cold. It's like we don't even have a window like glass in the window.
I was going to say, how's the stairwell?
Stairwell's frozen.
Freezing.
Oh, there you go. Byron says, talk of fluffy and inches. I'm white knuckling to not be immature.
Aren't we all, man? Aren't we all?
I can't not mention it. Oh no. Yeah.
Oh no, Peter.
We're under a cold weather advisory for the next couple of days. We'll be entering a winter storm warning at midnight coming up tonight, midnight Tuesday to midnight Wednesday, and an extreme cold watch from 6 p.m. tonight until 9 a.m. Wednesday. All that is because we've got snow in the forecast, y'all. Here is what we're looking at. We are looking at, as we make it, we're going to have a lot of sunshine today for sure, and it's going to stay above freezing until about 11 o'clock, well, until about 1 a.m. 1 a.m. is when it'll start to dip below freezing. 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, in that hour, within that hour, you can expect to start to see snow flurries. That will upgrade itself to just full-on snowfall, and we're going to get a lot of it in a short period of time. Anywhere from 3 to 6 inches of snow is expected tomorrow, and you can expect it all to stop snowing by about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That being said, not going to get back above freezing for the rest of the day, and won't get back above freezing until looking at about noon the following, 11 o'clock the following day. And the reason that's important is because the snow doesn't melt until we're back above freezing again. So do not make plans to go anywhere tomorrow. Do your best, do your level best to stay home tomorrow. If you've got errands to run, food to pick up, whatever, do your shopping today. Get that knocked out of the way. Now, once we're through all this, depending on what Wednesday looks like with a high of just 40 degrees and an overnight low getting back down to 19, there's likely going to be some accumulation left over for Thursday as well. Thursday's high gets up to 48. Friday we get up to 50. Saturday up to 59, and then expect rain on Sunday and Monday as we're back in the 60s as well. So as of right now, tomorrow is just straight up snow day, and then looking like Wednesday's going to have a lot left over for us. Right now it's sunny and 28 in downtown Baton Rouge. .839, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So normally on Mondays, we speak with Will Green, President and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry at 7:35. This Monday, Will was nice enough to be flexible for us to get the governor in, and then the governor had to cancel because the inauguration plans have gone kind of sideways over in Washington, D.C. But he's on with us now. Will Green, President and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. How are you, sir?
Brian, man, if I ever complain about the heat and the humidity.
Drop him right back on hold there. See if Will's there for us. We were supposed to have the governor on live from Washington, D.C., but with moving everything into the Capitol Rotunda, things got a little bit sideways right there, so that plan didn't work out. We will reconnect with Governor Landry later on in the week. We will reconnect with Will Green right now. Will, how are you, man?
Brian, you there?
Yes, I am.
Brian, man, listen, if I ever complain about the heat and humidity in Louisiana again, just remind me about the polar vortex of 2025.
Yeah.
Right?
It's going to get rough. It's going to get rough over the next 48 hours. And not just the snowfall itself, because the kids get to enjoy that. But once the snow has fallen and the kids play in it for half an hour and then they realize I like it inside, then we're just stuck at that point.
Yeah, break out the games and the board games and all that. But no, my kids are incredibly excited. They've my 7-year-old, I don't think he's ever seen snow, and so he's pumped. He keeps asking me when's it coming, and but no, it is exciting, and I am definitely more suited for the normal South Louisiana weather.
No, absolutely, same as I like seasonably appropriate cold. This goes beyond that. Now, looking beyond the next 48 hours or so, which are going to be rough going, let's fast forward to February 19th at the Crown Plaza in Baton Rouge. It's an event that I look forward to every single year. This year it's titled Louisiana Full Throttle. Let's talk about what Lobby's got planned.
Yeah, so we're just about a month out from our 2025 annual meeting at the Crown Plaza. So, in 2024, we made significant progress on various policy fronts. Mm-hmm. We took a look at our LA-driven strategic plan. We partnered with lawmakers, the administration, to help build a strong foundation, signaling Louisiana's back open for business. And so I think with that in mind, we're excited to announce our theme of Louisiana Full Throttle, this year's annual meeting, underscoring our unwavering commitment to maximizing the opportunities at our doorstep to celebrate the successes that we've had, mm-hmm. but also discuss and talk about the challenges and the work that still remains. And we are excited to do that and to tackle those things head on to secure a better future for our state moving forward. And so we're thankful. We appreciate Cajun Industries for their continued support. They continue to be our annual meeting presenting sponsor. And so, again, we're just about a month out from that. That'll be Wednesday, February 19th at the Crown Plaza. Registration starts at 8:30, and then our morning panel will kick off at 9:30. That panel will be an energy outlook for 2025 and beyond.
Oh, way to kick things off the right way. The energy outlook for 2025 and beyond. What's that looking like? Who's on? Do we know who's on the panel yet? Is that locked down yet?
Yeah, so we're still finalizing those details, but we want to bring in a national expert there to talk about kind of what we can expect, not only on a national scale, kind of out of the Trump administration and globally what we're seeing. And then also we're talking to Secretary Gray about coming and kind of giving us more of a regional approach. Secretary Gray has done a lot with that agency. He went in and has done a strategic plan, much like Secretary Bourgeois at LED, much like DOT, to try to streamline and see ways that he can make the Department of Natural Resources more efficient. And so what we're hoping to do is bring, like I said, a national perspective, and then hopefully look at ways that Secretary Gray can talk about how we in Louisiana can complement that, can build upon that, how that we can work with the administration under a new administration to continue to build upon our energy resources, and hopefully paint a picture of how Louisiana can capitalize on being not only a regional leader but a global leader in the energy sector. And so we hope people will gain valuable insights into emerging trends, opportunities, and how this evolving industry can shape the state's economic growth under the new administration.
we have looked at the last 4 years with a lot of diversification when it comes to energy, a lot of all of the above approach. And it's, 2 hours and 15 minutes from right now, Donald Trump will be sworn back in and has said drill, baby, drill on numerous occasions throughout the campaign. It's going to be tough not to run all focus back to oil and gas, which has been our bread and butter for many, many years. But is the plan still an all of the above approach?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, when you look at how harmful the pause was on LNG, when you look at the opportunity we have for carbon capture here in Louisiana and the jobs, and the investment that can create, the opportunity that can create. And so I know that, there's a little bit of controversy surrounding carbon capture, but the reality is that politics aside, companies are setting up to do that, right? To get more carbon neutral. In Louisiana, we have the expertise, we have the talent, and we have the opportunity to be able to do that here. And so as we look at, like you said, all resources, all hands on deck, all opportunities in Louisiana from an energy perspective, carbon capture certainly plays a big role in that.
We're talking with Will Green, President and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Their annual meeting is coming up on February 19th at the Crown Plaza in Baton Rouge. Oh, we haven't even mentioned the keynote speaker yet.
That's right. So the energy outlook will be at 9:30, and then we'll do our membership meeting at 11, and then we'll roll into our noon keynote luncheon with our featured speaker Charles Payne. And Charles Payne is, I know, familiar to a lot of your listeners. He is the host of Making Money with Charles Payne on Fox Business. Mm-hmm. He's a renowned financial expert, public speaker, and veteran. Payne brings unmatched insights into market trends and financial strategies. He's author of Unstoppable Prosperities, which provides a framework for economic success. And so what we wanted to do was, under the new Trump administration, what's inflation going to look like? What's the economy going to look like? We wanted kind of Charles to kind of not having a crystal ball, but with his level of experience and expertise, kind of paint a picture on what he thinks under this new Trump administration the economy is going to look like. What are we in for? What can we expect? And then hopefully drill down into Louisiana. What can our state hope to take advantage of, and what can Louisiana, what can we expect over the next 4, 6, 8 years? As we look to grow and change our economy as well. And so we think there's not a lot of people better than to tell that story and give that information than Charles Payne.
We got about 2 minutes left with Will Green, President and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. For those that have never attended the annual meeting before, and by the way, labi.org/events, you'll find the link right there. But for those who've never attended before, give us a quick takeaway of what to expect in terms of just not you get your panel of speakers and you got your keynote speaker, but really, Will, what I take away from this is the group of people together. I mean, the group of people together, the conversations had in the hallway outside of the meeting itself. You're talking about, you're going to get a precursor for a lot of what to expect in the regular session, even though it is a fiscal session, but you get that sneak preview right there on February 19th.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look, it brings together lobby members, legislators, and other elected officials from all over the state, starting with our VIP reception on Tuesday, February 18th at 6:30 at the Lobby Center for Free Enterprise downtown. Businesses of all shapes and sizes, local elected officials, statewide elected officials all come together that night and then into the next day, having conversations, talking about policy, how we can move the state forward. Those conversations then we hope will roll into the legislative session on how we can continue to build upon our state, build upon success. As Secretary Bourgeois says, continue to win and become the economic force across the South. And we think there's no better group of people and no better gathering than our annual meeting that starts with the VIP reception on the 18th and then rolls into the 19th. And so individual tickets are still available. Or there's a few tables still left. If anybody wants to sponsor or information on tickets, you can go to lobby.org or you can email taylora@lobby.org. but we are close to sell out. So I would tell anybody, if you're interested, to go ahead and email or go on the website now.
It was last year's LABI annual meeting that Governor Jeff Landry snuck in and dropped that bombshell announcement about ITEP.
He did, yeah. So, again, anything can happen at the lobby annual meeting. Good information is shared. Again, we think that was one of the most transformative pieces of legislation or regulatory rollback that happened last year, and it happened at our annual meeting. And so again, it's a great opportunity to come together for business legislators, and we're really excited about this year.
It was a visible gear shift, as now we are full throttle coming up on February 19th. labi.org/events. Will Green, we always appreciate the time. Do your best to stay warm, my man.
Thanks, Brian. You too, man. Safe travels up to D.C. Hope to see you there.
Yes, absolutely. Here's your money now. All right, let me hear the Fred Raiford's cut. Wait, go back, cut it to what do we do after I say so? Yep. No, keep playing it. I want to hear it. If that's the case, cut it right there. If that's the case. He's going to be so pissed. Oh man, what song goes with this? What song do I want you to queue up for after this? Oh. Oh. I'm leaning towards Hank Williams Jr. Country Boy Can Survive. Very beginning. And then have it underneath me. So we're going to come back in. We'll say we asked Fred Raiford earlier about, taking care of the roads. Here is that part of that conversation. And then after, when you cut it off, that sound bite, where it has to cut off, I'm like, did he say makeshift snowplow? Let the redneckery begin. And then, down. It's the last segment of the show. I could give a damn. This is gonna sound good too. Like I might want to pull this audio and like do one of those audio clips on social media. Regular bumper coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So regular bumper. I will call for the clip, for the audio of the for Fred, and then the song
Comment
after I
song.
say let the redneckery begin. Okay.
Right.
Download the free Talk 1073 mobile app. Find out what you missed each day at talk1073.com and watch us live on Facebook or Talk 1073 Baton Rouge YouTube channel, all courtesy of Lake Urgent Care. Lake Urgent Care, walk in for minor illnesses and injuries. We're at 29 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge, not yet eclipsing that freezing level. That's going to be an important note in the mornings to come as well. We are expecting a lot of snow tomorrow. Earlier in the show, by the way, if you missed anything at all, it's available on demand at talk1073.com. Like we said, courtesy of Lake Urgent Care. Talk with Fred Raiford back in the 6 o'clock hour. He heads up DPW. He's getting ready for what's to come. We talked a little bit about salt in the roads. We talked a little bit about having people, posted up, manning the streets and bridges right now as we get ready. I did ask Fred in particular, not just about the bridges, but about getting ready for the roads themselves. When it comes down to it, though, what do we do on the roads themselves once it hits below freezing and you start to have snowfall?
Well, I mean, Brian, number one, we don't have snow plows for sure here in the EBR. I know that sometimes the state's been able to pick them up, but most of those have been used for up the north part of the state of Louisiana.
Right.
But, I mean, our goal is to try to, salt down most of the bridges, overpasses, and also some roadways that we feel like that are critical that, from our standpoint, to try to keep open. We also have some makeshift, what you call snow plows that we have put together with some different types of approaches and also blades that we can use to help move snow if that's the case.
Whoa. Did he say makeshift snow plows? Oh, it's too good. Let the redneckery begin. I can see it now, John. Now, Hank Williams Jr. doesn't sing about a freeze or a snowstorm.
No.
But I'm telling you right now, a country boy can survive.
That's it.
Oh, I'm ready for it. We don't makeshift snow plows. Am I the only one envisioning like a plastic tailgate table ratchet strapped to the front of a Ford F-150?
Yeah, that's what's up. That's it. That's it.
I'm seeing like someone's hitting up Lowe's. No. They're going straight to Harbor Freight today to get those wide shovels.
Dude.
Wide shovels, and we're just going to duct tape them on a Dodge Ram.
Hitting up Northern Tool today. Oh, man.
Yeah, hit up Northern Tool. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, man.
We are so, I hope it comes to, and I'm not saying this as a hit or a knock. This is part of what I love about who we are as a people.
That's how it is.
This is one of my favorite parts, okay? If someone actually does ratchet strap a tailgate table to the front of their F-150, bonus points across the board.
Cajun ingenuity right
Darn
there.
right.
Man. We could do it.
Darn right. If we could have a
We'll make it
Cajun
happen.
Navy, we could have a Cajun snowplow.
Oh, absolutely.
Someone's going to, figure out how to hook up 100 hair dryers to their truck just to melt things.
Someone's got a flamethrower just waiting to be used for this. We're just ready, man.
All right, we're out of here, y'all. Moon Griffon's next. Inauguration coverage at 10. I love you, Fred. Sorry. It's just too good.
Couldn't pass.
All right.
There's no way. There's
you
no way
can't
you can
pass that
on
up.
that. No.
And look, is that not the perfect image?
It writes itself.
You get the entire tailgate table, like the plastic folding table, and you ratchet strap that bad boy to the front of an Ford F-150. Oh. All right, guys. Fun times today.
Yeah.
We will be back at it in some form or fashion tomorrow. God willing, and the snow don't rise. We will see you then. Later on.